Okay, so we want to make a game board for the game connect4. I think I'm gonna do this image here. You'll notice it has like a blue background, and then look how many circles. There's sort of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 across. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 up. I'm gonna jump over. I could choose other designs, but I'm gonna use this blue background with white circles. And so then back over here, I'm opening a new file. I'm going to call it connect4 version 1.py. I have my name in the comments, computer-based connect4 game, but version 1, we're just going to do the game board only using nested loops. So we're going to need to import the graphics. I've done that. I set up define main, and I'm going to call main. I also need to save this in a folder that has my graphics.py code in it already. So let's go to, let's see, save that. Right here, this should be okay. So we'll set that up, and I'll go over and look at the drawing of the picture real quickly. Okay, so I start off with our window, which we want it to be blue, and it's a rectangle. And I want, 7 circles across. So I want this side to be divisible by 7. I'm just going to go with 700, and I want 6 up. So I'm going to go with 100. That'll fit on my window. And then we're going to be cutting it into 6 pieces and across into 7. But what I want to do first is just set up the board and really just draw the one circle here. And so I want to figure out where that is. And I think what I'll do is I'll redefine this guy on here to be 0, 0. And I kind of want to go by 10. So I want, I guess I could go by hundreds since it's already going to be hundreds. So that'll be 0, 0. And up here would be 700, 600. And then the middle of this guy will be at 50, 50. And maybe I'll go with a radius of something smaller than 50. So like maybe a radius of 40 or 45, and we'll see how it looks. And then if we think about sort of the next circle and each circle thereafter, they're each going to have to travel 100 in the x direction. And the way I'm setting this up, also 100 in the y directions. We're going to first draw one circle, then we'll loop it across to draw 7 across, and then we're going to draw a loop around that to go up 6. With this window being 700 by 600, new coordinates, a blue background, and that first circle centered at 50, 50, maybe with a radius of 40 or 45. No, yeah, radius of 40 or 45. Okay, so go back to my coding. We'll call it, I'm actually going to call a function. I'm going to call it the board. Call it a drop or get board. And down here, we'll define that function. So I'm going to return that game board from this function, define get board. We'll do when. Let me scroll this down so you can see it better. When equals graph_when. I said I wanted it to go, so call it connect4. I want to go 700 by 600. When dot set coordinates. I forget if I want to spell that out. I think it's just chords. From 0, 0 to 700, 600. And when dot set background. blue. And we'll return the window here. So I'm just going to run this and make sure that it runs and that I get a blue window. Error, get board is not defined. Board equals get board, BOARD. Name get board is not defined. Define get board. Oh, I'm calling main in the wrong place. Call main down here. Okay, below the function. Because it's not seeing that because it's running it before it sees that second function. Now it should be okay. And there's my blue board. Okay, yay. Okay. And now we want to draw one of the circles. So I'm going to say circle, little circle. And its center is a point. It's at 50-50. We're going to try a radius of 45. I might make this smaller after I see what it looks like. Circ dot, let's set fill to white. And circ dot draw the window. And we should get a circle there. Run it, make sure it's there. There it is. So again, that's bigger than I want it to be. So I want to go down to 40. Let's run it again. I don't want those circles to touch. You can see there's space in between them. And even that looks a little big, but let's draw them all and then see what happens. Okay, so now it's the looping part. I'm going to put that same code inside of a loop that runs 7 times to get my 7 circles across for I in range 7. And we need to move to the right. So we're going to go circ, I'm going to tab this in. Point is going to be, we need to move 100 to the right each time. So it's 100 times I plus that start value of 50. When I is 0, it's at 50. And the next one, when I is 1, it'll be 150. And then 250, and then 350. That'll move that center over. And this should draw the 7 circles. And it does. And now we want to do that same pattern up 6. So I want to put this loop inside of another loop. So I'm going to actually go above it. I'm going to say for J in range 6, I'm going to tab all this stuff in. I could use the indent highlighted and use the indent button, but I want to show it by tabbing it in anyways. Okay. And then, so the I's move us to the right, and I want to go on to the Y values with the same thing going up 100 each time. So it's going to be 100 times J plus the 50. And you can see here, we're scrolling off the screen. So I'm just going to open that a little bigger. That's not too wide. If it feels too wide, you can always just hit return here and it'll line that up easier to look at with the 100 time the X coordinate and the Y coordinate sort of being on top of each other. The radius following, run it. Ta-da. It looks pretty good. I think that basically does that. You know, if you wanted to show the stands, you could make this rectangle a little smaller with white around it or something, but I think it's fine. The one thing I might do is make these circles a little smaller still. Just going in and changing the radius to, I don't know, 35, 37. Let's try 35 and just see what happens with that. It feels a little too small, so I'll just go back. Try 38 and then run it. And I might just go back to 40 after I get this done. Oh, I think I like that. So that's our use of nested loops. You know, I went by hundreds. You could just as easily have gone by tens. So this would be a 70 by 60 window, or when you set the coordinates, you'd go 70 by 60. As long as the one is divisible by 7, the other one's divisible by 6, it wouldn't matter what coordinates you used as long as those were divisible that way. Tens could be thought of as easy because you could go with the first circle being centered at 5, 5. And then you could still adjust the radius to whatever, and you'd still be jumping over by 10 instead of 100. Okay, so there's that code. And you could think about the rest of the game, how that would be played. It's a little tricky, but we'd have to keep track of sort of the user would have to have an option of what row they were going to put their colors in, and you'd have to alternate between red and yellow, the two players. And not what row, sorry, what column 1, 2, 3. And then you'd have to keep track of sort of what was in those columns, but we could keep track of what's in the columns. You could think about how you would do that, but I think as you add a color to a column, you could put things in a list, and then um, that would be a way to do it. I don't know. A little bit harder might be connect 4. You're trying to get 4 in a row, either vertically, horizontally, or diagonally, and so that could be tricky in terms of figuring out if someone has won the game. But that's the code that I wanted to show us, is that nested loop, and that will it'll finish up this video.